final 3 games. And did you guys feel like when the season started that the final 3 could be a really good stretch for you, just schedule-wise?
Yeah, because of course, being realistic, we've been playing some powerhouse programs, and no disrespect to the programs that are coming up because they're great programs, but it's just programs we know. You know what I mean? It's just we knew this stretch was going to be because we've played these teams before, and we know a lot about them. So it was a good opportunity to try to get some dubs on the schedule.
Does playing a month's worth of road games and buys, does that wear on you guys, and are you glad to be home for a couple weeks straight here?
For the team as a whole, I would believe so. Because, I mean, you don't like to think about it, but getting on that plane and going to a hotel and just all the logistics of traveling, sometimes it takes a toll on the football team as a whole. But, like, at the end of the day, when the ball snaps, you're still in between white lines with 100 yards. So, although there were a lot of away games the past couple games, being home gives you a little more comfort because we practice on this field, we work out on this field, so it just gives you a little more confidence walking on the field that you've been working out on, that you've been practicing on for the whole year. So yeah, it does give you a little sense of comfort to come home and play some football games.
The thing that gets to me on the travel is the boredom. If that's the case, how do you deal with that when we travel?
Focus is a big thing Coach Martin likes to preach to us because that's the hardest thing, especially with a young team, and especially with with some guys who don't have a lot of experience. Just making sure you staying focused on the goal and making sure you understand what the trip's all about. Because it's easy to let your mind wander and just forget why you're on the trip and forget exactly the focus and the laser focus you need in order to prepare yourself to play a college football game. So that's the biggest thing. Just trying to stay focused throughout. Like I said, all the drawn out, the things you have to do that just routine that become kind of you do over and over again. So sometimes you forget. You need to stay focused throughout that whole time.
How do you stay consistent like you have this senior year when things haven't gone your way, and do you feel like it's do you think that your teammates are feeding off of it, like they've learned from you in your senior
year? That's my biggest goal right now. With 3 years left, 3 games left in my senior season, I want to set a culture. And consistencies, I've been preaching that since the last off season, and that's just been one of my main focuses as an individual. Selfishly, I just wanted to be more consistent, and with my being selfish, wanting to be consistency, I wanted to kind of put that into the culture of the defense, the linebackers, even the team as a whole, because I feel like at the end of the day, sometimes your legacy and sometimes what you leave with the program is not always going to be stats. It's not always going to be what the record was when you were there. It's about the tone that you set when you were there, and it can touch maybe 2 or 3 young guys, but if those 2 or 3 young guys can adapt to what I was trying to set when I was here, that can change your whole program. Because sometimes all it takes is a spark to, kind of just get everybody rolling in the same direction. So if I could, just kind of inspire one of those young linebackers or even one of those young offensive players to just hone on consistency, because that can win you football games alone, just being consistent. So that's like you said, me trying to be consistent. Hopefully that instilled into the New Mexico State football culture.
Was there a player when you were younger that did the same thing?
Yeah, it was a lot of players, and that's what I said. Sometimes the legacy may not always be stats, because that's one thing I learned from those guys. Dalton Harrington, Rodney Butler, names that everybody remembers, but like for me, I knew those guys personally, and I sat down and I kind of learned from those guys. And that's one of the biggest things I learned, especially from Dalton Harrington. He was the most consistent football player in New Mexico State history, if you can ask me. Dalton Harrington just taught me always day in and day out, try to be that same guy and try to do the same things that you did the day before and just keep, building on it. Because that's the hardest thing, is just building on what you've already accomplished, and not even physically, maybe mentally, or maybe just being consistent. And that's a big thing I learned from him. So hopefully I can one day, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, somebody can say Javahn Fergurson taught me that. So that's one of my biggest goals.
What's your degree in now?
Civil engineering technology.
And when do you have you graduated?
This December. Yes, sir.
Do you feel like the whole linebacker unit has been consistent? It seems like Hodge is playing well and Devin's playing well alongside you.
Yeah, our room is Coach Sukup has done a great job of just keeping us together, and this year is one of those years I felt as a whole, as a linebacker whole, that consistency thing kind of bled over into everybody in that linebacker room because it's not one week I can say that somebody didn't progress in something. And that's always you can't just become a great football player in one day. Rome wasn't built in one day. So I always noticed in the linebacker room that whether it was Devin, whether it was Matt Young, whether it was Shane Jackson, even guys who aren't even on the field yet, they're growing and they're learning, and everybody's just progressing more and more every day. And even with the small things, whether it was studying film or just showing up to practice 10 minutes early, just those things like that, the linebacker room have been great. And when you have things like that going on in your room, the play on the field takes care of itself. So I feel like that was one of the big things in the linebacker room. We paid attention to details, and it kind of showed on the football field.
In the current word offense, currently exactly like the Aggies, does that make preparing easier?
Yeah, it's always easier when you we see our offense maybe a month before we see any other opponent. So that's what we're accustomed to. That's what we learn our base fits in. We learn cover. All our coverages is in man-to-man, and everything is based off our offense when we install it. So it's always easy to go back to those basics, the spread offense, knowing your rules based off one back and not three back. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that's what we learn from our offense is our defense when it connects. So when you go to young guys and when we go to guys when we try to put different defenses in, it's easy to kind of relate back to that because it's an offense that we face day in and day out. So that is a good thing.
What are your responsibilities facing this kind of an opponent, with this kind of an offense?
Yeah, UIW they like to isolate linebackers. They like to do a RPO, which a lot of people in the country are doing right now. And it's just they're an air raid offense, and they want to move the ball really fast, at a good pace. So it's one of those things that we're used to. Like I said, we face our offense every day. That's Coach Martin's MO. He wants to spread the ball out. He wants to get the ball in playmakers' hands. He wants to put the linebackers in uncomfortable positions in space. So that's one of the things that I've been, like I said, I've been practicing against that since August and July. So it's something that I'm comfortable doing just because, we've seen it so much.
Kenny, Dan, any questions for JV?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, Coach talked about you guys having a lot of guys banged up and probably going to have some young guys on the field. I mean, how do you handle that? I mean, just trying to make sure that those guys know what they're doing and they're in the right spots.
We've done a great job of keeping everybody involved throughout the year. So even if those guys weren't technically getting a lot of plays every Saturday, we've kept every young guy involved. It wasn't one of those. I know a lot of programs, they just sit those guys to the side for 6 or 7 weeks and expect them to come back later on in the season and kind of adapt to what's going on. But Coach Martin and Coach Spaziani, they do a great job of keeping everybody involved. Everybody gets reps. Everybody, stays in tune with what's going on throughout the season. So it won't be hard to just plug, different guys in because that's what makes the program good is the next guy up is being able to, not miss a beat and not miss a step when he steps on the field. So this week, that's our biggest thing is trying to make sure those guys, don't miss a beat based on, whatever their job needs to be, no matter what position they're at, that they just, kind of adapt fast. And I'm pretty sure by one day of practice, everybody will be, on the same page and ready to go by Saturday.